Welcome back to No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again, Coffee and Donuts!
Ooh. Do tell.
Oh, we gotta get coffee and donuts to save the spirit guy again.
Which game was this again?
What?
It's been a while since our last
This-
session.
This is the shitty PS1 game.
Why is that guy's mouth a hand? Or two?
Because it's shooting things at you.
These textures are way too high res, man. Like,
Yeah, look at that cracked wall. It's got like multiple cracketed parts.
Cracketed.
Cracked.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's a real word.
it doesn't look like PS1 graphics, is what I'm saying.
Well, you're in the game, so.
Oh yeah, I know, but still, it would be more charming if like they had low res PS1 textures.
No, that's what the intro was for.
Yeah, the FMV.
Yeah.
At the beginning of it.
I mean, the
You need to have-
FMV.
You need to have a Max Payne like face for Travis here.
Fucking the lemon face?
Yeah.
Imagine Travis touchdown with that lemon
That
face.
was PS2, actually.
Yeah, but it's not any better than the GoldenEye faces, so it's still.
I have to
stands.
agree. It's like Max Payne's face
Why
in
did
that
you-
one might as well
Why
have been
did
from a
you just
PS1 game.
suicide there?
I was checking to see if there was something down there.
Right.
This is, I think, the worst stage as far as collectibles go. Because
Why is that?
not only do you have these platforming sections, you have the hotel, which has a lot of rooms you have to go into. Some lead to different optional areas you may not be aware of. And there are not necessarily blind jumps, but really hard to see ones.
Yeah.
So it's...
Does this game at least have a map feature?
No.
Not really.
No.
Okay. So in an area like this,
This is the only really kind of non-linear level in the game.
yeah. Well, they seem to block your pathway when you're like surrounded by enemies. They won't let you go anywhere
Yeah.
until you take care of them.
Yeah. No, I'm more talking about the hotel aspect of... Or the mansion
Right, because
aspect.
you were going through different doors
You
beforehand.
know,
That's
it
right.
occurs to me that like if they wanted to do a PS1 style game in this gameplay style, Medieval would have been the one to mimic. But I guess they didn't do that.
Well, they wanted to keep this like either half top-down, half side-scroller, not necessarily
Well, yeah, I know. I'm saying that
full
like
3D.
Medieval would have worked good for all of that.
Yeah, possibly.
Because it basically was this gameplay style when you think about it. I mean,
Not wrong.
You probably won't get what I'm saying if you've only played the remake. Talking to the audience here, but like,
Oh, that came out.
yeah,
Yeah.
ages ago.
I think it came out a couple months ago.
I thought that it wasn't out yet for whatever reason.
No, it did.
It did sort of arrive with zero fanfare compared to the other.
Yeah, it came and went just like its original incarnation.
Like,
it's-
like everyone was aware of the Insane trilogy or the Reignited trilogy, but with Medieval, it just sort of, yeah.
Well, Crash and Spyro are way bigger names even comparatively today.
Right.
Yeah, well, today, yeah. I mean, it's not like Medieval was obscure at the time. It just didn't stick around the way Crash and Spyro did.
I
Yeah.
would say that it
No.
wasn't high profile though either. Like
Easily
it's-
not.
Well, I
it's
mean,
a-
you
it's
were
a cult classic by the definition of the phrase.
today. It's a cult classic. At the time, there were a lot of franchises at the time that had a lot of like gaming media exposure, and Medieval was one of them.
Remember Blasto?
Please don't remind me of Blasto.
Wasn't he voiced by a Simpsons actor?
I believe
Maybe.
it was Phil Hartman.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such video games as Blasto.
It wasn't really until the PS2 days, I think, that games started to like be obscure on arrival. Really.
No, there are definitely a lot of obscure games from the N64 and PS1.
Well, there are a lot of obscure games in all of the generations, but what I mean is that like a lot of good games arrived and were obscure on arrival, even though they were good. It was
the
I
blame?
mean, I would disagree with that just because
it was
there are
more of
games like
an-
Earthbound out there.
it was more of an oversaturation issue. Really,
Yeah,
like,
I could see that.
there were a lot of RPGs that were really, really good, but nobody knew about them at the time. There were a lot of platformers that were either really good or flawed, but had a lot of interesting stuff in
I
them.
would say platformers had it worse with oversaturation.
yeah.
Well, everyone was still trying to be the new Sonic.
Well, it was easier
Right.
to churn out platformers quickly.
I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like by the time
So-
we start making platformers out of Jersey Devil, it's like, come on. It's like, kind of trying to
well,
grasp.
Jersey Devil wasn't
big
obscure.
time.
Like,
No, but the idea of making it a platforming mascot, it's like, what? Come on.
every console
I don't know.
only needs one. You don't need multiple.
well, yeah, but
I think the only console that balanced multiple really well was the PS2. Actually,
the Jersey Devil game though was less about the Jersey Devil and more about we wanted to have a like Warner Brothers Animaniacs style mascot, and we just happened to pick the Jersey Devil because it was a wacky sounding thing, you know. So
It's too bad that it has the word devil in it, and so parents are going to be like, oh, no, I can't have
I
this for my children.
ironically I don't like remember seeing anyone care about that much. It's weird. Whenever pop culture did something overtly not Christian, the Christian fundamentalist crowds that usually jumped on stuff like Harry Potter, they ignored it. His Dark Materials, I remember being in a conversation with someone who was ragging on Harry Potter, and I straight up brought His Dark Materials up, and the guy was just like, "Pfft," you know, like he didn't care.
No, there was definitely people who were not okay with his Dark
Oh,
Materials.
yeah,
because
but,
in that book, like God is like literally insane.
Yeah,
or something to
but
that
like
effect.
you had to really
the
work
novelization of
hard
Shin Megami
to
Tensei
get
game.
anybody to care about it in a visible way. Like you would only ever see people talking about it like if you went to the far corners of the internet or something. It was
Now, I
weird.
do remember though that my mom came back from church one day and she was like, "Those books you like, they're not anti-Christian, are they?" And since I was like 8 at the time, actually I was more like 9, but I'm also oblivious. Actually, I was probably more like 11, but I'm still.
You were
very
oblivious enough to say no and be
I
honest
was
about
like,
it, weren't you?
No, it seems fine to me.
And then you get to Amber Spyglass, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Well, that's the point where like he just stops even trying to hide it. So.
But yeah, those books were a trip. But
I mean, I love them. They're really well written, but yeah, they're.
I don't know. I like to think by the tail end of the '90s, decrying video games and such for like religious reasons or overly violent, toned down after that point, because that was more of a thing in the early '90s and late '80s.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat and that sort of thing.
once gaming became more mainstream during the PS1 era, everyone just kind of like, oh, whatever then.
wow. I'm actually surprised that coffee and/or donuts actually factored into the level design somehow.
Yes, one coffee and/or donut,
It's
please.
so weird though. Those donuts just floating in this freaking Crisis City looking area is like the most tonally dissonant thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's like I don't remember any.
Because like what a Sweet Mountain
I don't remember
was like. It's like Sonic Generations gone awry. That sounds like a pretty cool concept. They should have capitalized on. Like it's one thing to like bring old levels back, but what if they like started like fucking around, like mutating into different abominations where we do get Sweet Mountain assets in Crisis City.
But like I don't remember any PS1 games that went with a theme like this. Although I do like how they use this rising and presumably lowering platform and the donut hole.
It's a very
I like how
very,
shiny
very
the donut
slow.
is, so it's like properly
glazed.
Yeah,
Like
chocolate
No,
frosting.
that's not glaze. That's chocolate.
I know,
Well,
but
it's
it's
got
like
glaze on there,
it looks. I want donuts.
I want to go to Wawa now and just get some cheap ass donuts. Maybe they've got another 6 for $3 sale on.
I couldn't tell you because I rarely get donuts at Wawa.
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell me either because it's all store specific. Those sales.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Okay.
It depends on like how much stock a given store has of a given thing. They'll put on whatever sale is best for them. Like my local store always has way too many Mountain Dew amps, so they've got a perpetual sale on 2 for $3.50.
Why do we keep ordering so many? Shut up and order more.
Yeah, taking the lower path reveals a secret passage.
I'm trying to think of like what games they might be trying to reference with this PS1 era game, and I'm not seeing
It's mostly the PS1 in general. Remember how during the PS1 everything wanted to be more brown and realistic looking.
That was more of a 360
I think
PS3
of that
era.
more of as like as like an Xbox 360.
That's what I
Yes, but
said.
the late PS1 is when they started trying to do that.
I don't remember that. Honestly, I don't.
Well, this around the end of the PS1's life cycle is when we started getting more emphasis on like Medal of Honor. I know Metal Gear Solid had a hand in that too, even though that was
Call
more
of
gray
Call
and
of
white.
Duty.
Call of Duty wasn't until
I
PS2
don't
though.
really
I wanna
think
say.
of grays and browns when I think of Metal Gear Solid. I think more like whites.
Well, I think of whites only in the beginning, because of Shadow Moses and shit. But
I
you're spending
kinda
most
think
of
of gray
that
when
time.
I see Shadow Moses, but then again, I also haven't played it, so this is an
Well,
outsider's
grays and
perspective.
whites more than grays and browns, but you know.
No, not browns. No, grays and whites easily.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't say
cold,
brown,
though.
but definitely gray.
No.
That's not a color, not a colorful game in its color palette.
Yeah, but still-
metaphorically
but
speaking, it's a colorful game.
Still vibrantly, the colors that it does show are like very
Yeah, no-
clear, and the PlayStation 1 was actually really good at that.
Metal Gear Solid does have a personality, which I think is kind of the problem. I think people are using it's too brown as a shorthand for
Oop.
this doesn't have enough personality.
That was a really bad jump. Oh, and
Not a
you
fan
just
of donuts,
respawn,
are you?
so you have to wait
Oh
for the
god!
platform
So
to
they
come
have to wait for the
back.
damn donut.
This is so not Moe.
Uh,
Did you say donuts when you fell down?
I really wish I really wish this level had gone like the full 9 yards with the PS1 aesthetic, though.
Okay, hold on. Can I go on a rant for a moment? Why is the phrase "the full 9 yards" when if it's supposed to be a football reference, it's 10? So if you're going the full 9
I don't
yards,
even
you're not
know.
even doing it. You're not
I
even
don't, I
getting
don't
the
even
down.
know if that's the correct saying, dude.
The
I just
sports
like
ball was yesterday,
Well,
and
I
this
heard,
phrase has bothered me my entire goddamn
I've always heard it. All right, so to get pedantic here, I always heard it as the whole 9 yards, not the full.
Yeah, the
Whatever.
whole
Well, it's still it's
Yeah.
the
I
same
knew I was
thing.
getting
It's
something
10.
wrong.
That's
but
why I said it was pedantic.
But it's look.
I don't know. I don't think it's a football reference. I think it's a reference to something else.
Well,
But-
I have no idea what it could be if that was.
Me
the case.
neither. But
Well,
We're getting off track.
through the miracle of Google, I can look it up
I'm-
and end this discussion once and for
I'm
all.
seriously wishing that they'd gone the PS1 route with the graphics. Maybe made the mansion area here pre-rendered or something. You know, I mean, I just like before we started this session, I discovered that Alyssa the Awakening indie game. That's an actual Resident Evil PS1 style indie game with PS1 ass looking graphics, and it was glorious. Okay, and
We're far and away overdue for the PS1 retro throwbacks and N64 retro throwbacks with graphics. Okay, they've been
Well,
doing
we are-
8-bit ones for that for like 15 goddamn years now.
Well, Ted, we already got our medium game in ukulele.
The issue-
but
the
that-
issue
that-
with,
I want a game that looks like an N64.
Like
game.
we don't have full out throwbacks yet. We just have references to that day and age. I know you guys said ukulele. You know, there was the Mario 64 costume in Odyssey. I know A Hat in Time had a N64 mode where you could look like you were right out of the N64. But there's not a whole game, to my knowledge anyway, that's just the throwback to the entire
The issue with trying to
generation.
recapture that visual style is that you have to recapture the resolution too, because when you play like a PlayStation 1 graphics game on a PC, generally the resolution gets bumped up a hell of a lot, and it winds up looking like a Dreamcast game essentially, with just lower res textures and stuff. So, I mean, I'm playing Tomb Raider 1 on PC now. And it's great to be able to play it, but it's also it looks way too smooth. So,
replicating a resolution, I don't think would be too much of a problem.
I feel like it's worth
put
at
the
least
time and
trying
effort into
though,
it.
because we haven't
Yeah.
really.
well,
gotten it
I
yet.
brought up Alyssa the Awakening, and it looks like perfect, spot on. The resolution and the and the aspect ratio are both like made to look like a PlayStation 1 game. So it's not like super smoothified or anything. Like at best, I'd say it looks like playing Resident Evil 2 on the GameCube, you know? Which actually did do a really good job of balancing resolution and smoothness.
Did Resident Evil 2
Oh,
on the
okay.
GameCube change any of the models or anything like that?
No, it just played it at a
It
somewhat
just
higher
ran better.
resolution than the PlayStation 1 would have, but it was a unified resolution, you know? So it wasn't like really smooth models on top of pixelated pre-rendered backgrounds like you might get if you played the game on an emulator or something.
Okay.
No, it was just a higher resolution.
But not a super high resolution, which is key.
No.
It's a difficult balance to get. Like when you do a high-res pixel art game, you can slap a filter on it to mimic the look of a television and call it a day.
Okay, so the whole nine. Oh, this is interesting. The whole 9 yards
actually
is a
looking
colloquial
it up.
American English phrase meaning everything, the whole lot, or all the way in. The Army came out and gave us the whole 9 yards space systems. Its origin is unknown, and has been described by Yale University librarian Fred R. Sharpio as the most prominent etmo. Was it etmo? Was it ETYMO? Logical riddle of our
Etymology?
time.
Etymology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Etymological
Etymological riddle of our
yeah.
time. So we don't. Edible
So
riddle
you
of our
spend all
time.
that time looking it up just to learn that definitively
nothing.
that nobody
to
knows.
learn it doesn't have nobody knows where it came from. It's just something that's just part of what our language is, and we don't know the origin of it.
God damn it.
Man, that's great.
And now
I learned
you
today-
know.
I learned two things: that and that I can't pronounce etymological.
It's weird that, you know, sometimes you see a word and like you should be able to just pronounce it, but it tongue twists you for no apparent reason, and
Well, sometimes I have trouble breaking apart the word.
yeah.
Also, your brain can just move faster than your tongue.
Yeah.
It also doesn't.
And that gets worse with age.
It doesn't help that it's like a weird sandwich of letters.
Sounds.
Yeah.
Etymology is really interesting, though, if you bother to look things up.
Yeah. Bugstraw. Okay.
It's Grandpa's words of wisdom. Well, we've covered most of the doors we can. It's now just the actual level doors we have to figure out a way into.
You know what I was playing just the other day on an emulator because I don't have a physical copy? Gauntlet Legends. That's another thing.
You're going to jail, Lewis.
That's another thing that. Well, I booted it up to see if I still remembered it being as fun as it was, so that I could decide whether or not to actually buy it. But I also wanted to actually know what the difference between Gauntlet Legends and Dark Legacy was, because the way some Wikipedia articles describe it is like, oh, Dark Legacy is an expansion on Legends. It's a different game. It just looks the same.
Oh.
So I was like, I wanted to know if I should just buy Dark Legacy, or if I should buy both. What order I should play them in.
You'll find out what order Lewis played them in next part for No More Heroes.
He's gonna forget.